Representative Dean Westlake has announced he's stepping down today as information surfaces about his sexual relationship with an underage teenager in the 80s.
You're watching Alaska's high-definition news leader. This is KTVA 11 Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Liz Raines. Representative Dean Westlake of Kayana has announced he's resigning from the Alaska legislature following allegations of sexual misconduct. Democratic Party is called for him to do so, and multiple women have alleged that Westlake made unwelcome advances toward them. In a written statement today, Westlake said he's now decided to resign. As recent allegations of my behavior have superseded discussions about my constituents, my ability to serve them has been diminished, Westlake wrote in a statement today. The conversation about my behavior has been elevated above the needs of my district, and that is not why I ran for office. I am not more important than the people who put me in my seat. My district has and always should come first. Well, Westlake's resignation has been met with relief, at least by one woman tonight, but for her, it isn't the end, but rather the beginning of an even bigger movement, one that could carry legal consequences for Westlake. Decades before running for state office, Dean Westlake was a corporal in the KTVA Police Department, and it was around his time in that office that he had sexual relations with a minor.
I believe she was 15 years old, and I don't know if she was a babysitter or not.
Jocelyn Stein, now known by her married name, Jocelyn Little, is living proof. Her birth certificate and a court-ordered paternity test confirm her mother was just 16 when she was born, and her father, Dean Westlake, was 28.
I guess I wonder how people in town didn't know about this.
It's a small village type of deal. People know about it. It's all in the rumors. Grapevine knows, but no one's actually doing anything.
A public records request reveals Westlake was working for the KTVA Police Department up until 2 months prior to when Little was conceived. She says her grandfather tried to press charges because her mother was only 15 at the time, but they never stuck.
And he fled town, and then the next thing you know, we don't hear from him anymore.
She says her mother agreed not to press for child support if Westlake maintained a relationship with Little.
He talked to me, but there was no communication. It was basically like a business associate saying, hey, how's your day? How's the weather so far and so forth. It was never intimate. But on that note, I never had a conversation with him.
Now 29, Little is pregnant herself with her third child, a little girl named Zoe. She says she has introduced her children to her own father, but she would never leave them alone with Westlake.
There's no bad feelings, there's no bad blood. We're rooting for him personally. If he wants to do good, well, good for him. And if the people choose him, that's okay. But the people have a right to know everything from the past.
I mean, as a 15-year-old, what he did to your mom is a crime.
Right.
And he still got elected.
Right. It's a strange place to be in a small village. Those things get swept under the rug.
And she worries there may be more under that rug.
If it happened to my mother, and she is a little kid and he's blaming her, who else is having this done to them behind closed doors? And you don't know who else this happened to, and they're just not coming forward. And, you know, anyone that's going to talk about this, he's a big political guy, you know, with a really lot of people just pushing for him. So it's terrifying to come up and talk ill about him towards anyone.
Little says she's no longer afraid to talk about what her father did.
We shouldn't be afraid of speaking something, especially when we know right from wrong.
She hopes to inspire anyone with a similar experience to do the same.
How many siblings do you have?
I believe 7. So, and counting. You never know who's going to come forward next.
And as for Westlake,
I think that he should just seek counsel on what he should do, get into some type of medication, some type of class to learn how to cope with appropriate behavior with people.
She hopes he'll get some help. According to Alaska state law, crimes such as felony abuse of a minor can be prosecuted at any time, regardless of when the offense occurred. We reached out to Westlake for comment as part of this story, but have not received a response. Today, Governor Bill Walker said he was pleased by Westlake's resignation, adding that it was the right thing to do. And joining me now is Jay Parmalee, the executive director of the Alaska Democratic Party. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to ask you for your response to that story there of Representative Westlake's sexual relationship with a minor previous to him running for office.
You know, the news to me as well today, I think the most important thing is that Representative Westlake did the right thing today and resigned, something we've been calling for several days now. And it was the right thing to do. And I was I was as surprised by anyone this morning that Representative Westlake resigned because he had been so emphatic in the last couple of days that he would not. But I'm glad he did the right thing and now allows us to the process of moving forward to get a replacement for the citizens of District 40.
Well, we found out about this relationship with a minor by researching court documents. How well did the Alaska Democratic Party vet Mr. Westlake as a candidate? Yeah,
so that's a huge misconception about the role of the party in candidates. Candidates come forward, they file on their own. The party cannot keep someone from filing for office. Representative Westlake...
But the party supported him as a candidate.
Sure. So Representative Westlake ran twice. He ran in 2014 and in 2016. And the party did support him because he ran against an incumbent who was a Democrat but had caucused with the minority. So we couldn't support his we couldn't support his opponent in 2016.
But you could support someone who had a history of a sexual relationship with a minor?
You know, so it's not about that. It's really about the voters making decisions. And if we had known these points of information, regardless of what it is, it's really about the campaign process where this would have come out. So,
does the party court view their candidates when they choose whether or not to support them?
You know, no, because it's not directly. So let me be very clear. It's not about the party support. You run to get the nomination of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, which is exactly what happens. Party typically, in most cases, doesn't get directly involved in a primary. Now, let me be really honest. In this case, we were involved in a primary because we, according to our own party rules, couldn't support Representative Westlake's opponent because he was caucusing with the Republicans. However, if we had known this at the time, now this was before my time, but if we had known this at the time, I'm very confident that this information would have come out in normal course of process.
So to be clear, when the party gets involved in a primary and decides to support a candidate, do they do any kind of a background check on that candidate first?
Well, you do nominal background checks, and you know it's not an intrusive process because an election is about that. This is what comes out in the course of an election. So we ask questions, I would with any prospective candidate. Are there things that are in your past that we should talk about that may pose a problem? But ultimately, let's be really clear. Voters make these decisions. We elect people all of the time, including the President of the United States, that things come out in the course of a campaign. And ultimately, it's up to voters. Now, whether or not the party provides financial support or help, we have now, because of this, and then through this process in the last few weeks, instituted party rules, if you will, that will allow us to withdraw support from a candidate if they violate a code of conduct or a certain moral ethic.
So was the party aware of this report or any other reports of predatory behavior by Westlake before it decided to support him as a candidate in the primary?
Not that I am aware of, and I have made numerous phone calls and talked to past party leadership that may have been in positions of authority, and nothing specific that I can find anywhere where we were made aware of a very specific allegation or revelation. If that was done, I can't find anybody who knows that or was given that information.
Well, last month, a former legislative staffer, Olivia Garrett, said that the party chose to disregard some of Westlake's past misdeeds and support him anyway, that the party was aware of them. How do you respond to that? Does the party owe Alaskans an apology for supporting Westlake?
Well, here's the deal. I don't know how to respond to that directly. I know Olivia. I trust Olivia. But I've not asked who and when and where specifically knew of this. I heard the statement, and I've gone to the former chairs, I've gone to the former executive director, I've gone to all of the former leadership of the party to say, when and where might this have been brought up? And I have, in my research, I have not found that anyone knew of anything specific. So I don't believe that the party acted improperly in the 2016 election, and the voters in District 40 chose Dean Westlake over then Representative Negiak, and today Dean Westlake's done the right thing. So an apology, I think it is unfortunate that this information did not come out earlier, but I don't believe it was the responsibility of the Democratic Party to find this information any more than it was the responsibility of Representative Westlake or his opponents to bring this information out in the campaign.
Is this going to change your vetting process for candidates moving forward?
I think it does. I think it absolutely makes us take a longer look, or sort of a more in-depth look at individuals so we can have these discussions. But let me, again, be very clear. We can't keep someone from running. Any citizen can go file for office.
But you can't choose whether to support them as a candidate. That's correct.
That is correct. And that's where this will play into that moving forward. Absolutely.
Right. Jay Parmley, Executive Director of the Alaska Democratic Party, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Liz.
Well, it was nice to see some actual snow on the